scandal of Obama shaking hands with Castro's brother. Oh, brother. Folks, we are really scraping the bottom of the barrel. Now, as much as I detest base name-calling in politics, I just don't know how else to deal with an issue like this other than saying the people who are complaining about Barack Obama shaking hands with another head of state is that they're stupid, they're fools, they're morons, they're idiots. And I feel bad debasing our political debate in this country, but it can't be debased any lower than it is when we see conservatives just pile on nonsense after silliness after non sequitur. Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, they all shook hands with communists, with communist leaders. Nixon shaking hands with the premier of China. Reagan shaking hands with Gorbachev and every communist leader. That was okay. George H.W. Bush shaking hands with communists. Perfectly fine. But when Barack Obama shakes hands with a caretaker, basically third world country, who is a testament to the failed policies of conservatives in America, that's supposedly an outrage. Even somebody who's occasionally sensible like John McCain saying this is somehow worse than shaking hands with Hitler. I just don't know how to describe it other than base name-calling. I mean, at some level, this is the equivalent of a liberal showing up at a rally where Ronald Reagan was speaking or George Bush and just pulling his pants down and saying, kiss it. It's that level of erudition. It's that level of sophistication in the argument, i.e. none at all. It's just... The only good news is I think conservatives are taking whatever remaining shreds of credibility they have with moderates and independents in this country and completely throwing it away. Okay, in other news, Time magazine has named the Pope the Man of the Year. All I can say is, Time, enjoy the fact that people are still talking about you. And I don't dislike Time. I don't think they are far right-wing ideologues. And I don't hope that they go out of business. But for the life of me, I don't know why anyone would read Time magazine or care about the editor's opinions of who is the man or the woman or the person of the year. They're still getting occasional attention. This is being picked up by Politico. Now I'm talking about it. But the days of Time magazine being an agenda setter, I think, are long over. Now this is an interesting development coming out of Fox News. There are reports that Roger Ailes and Fox and Company are paying a former top henchman in that organization $8 million to shut up. $8 million. That's just astounding. Now, this is being described as hush money. This is the gentleman, Lewis, I believe his name is Brian Lewis, former top-level PR guy, hatchet man for Roger Ailes. They had some sort of a falling out. He was escorted from the building a number of months back, as you may recall. And now he's being paid, reportedly, $8 million to shut up. Now, this isn't the first time Fox employees have been paid to shut up and disappear. Judith Regan was paid, reportedly, $10 million to shut up because she claimed she had an audio tape of Roger Ailes requesting felonious statements be made on his behalf. Excellent summary of this in Media Matters. I tell you, there are days when I think, wow, if I didn't have time to read any media and could only use two sources, I would follow Paul Krugman and read everything that Media Matters puts out. And I would really know everything that's important going on in the world. And I wouldn't have to deal with so much utter right-wing nonsense that I get by reading everything on Drudge and all the other sites that I look at to be on top of things for you. But Media Matters, once again, you're on top of things. Thank you very much. Well, what do you know? The Senate's actually confirming presidential appointments once again. Mel Watt is going to be the transportation secretary after months and months and months of odious delay on the part of Republicans. And they are just steaming mad. They're doing everything they can. They are basically holding their breath and saying, I'm going to turn purple. But thankfully, finally, Democrats, Harry Reid and company, are just ignoring them. And presidential appointments are actually getting through. Other than Obamacare, which I think will go down is a tremendous historical accomplishment for Obama, his greatest legacy may be his appointments to courts, other top-level appointments having a full 8 years, and now it looks like he'll actually be able to get his people into office. Here's an interesting tidbit. There's a doctor in Kentucky who took out an ad saying that he was shutting down his medical practice because of Obamacare policy. Wow, that sounds awful. That sounds horrible. Wow, maybe we should rethink this. There's only one problem. He's saying specifically that he's shutting down his office because of Obamacare requirements that he keep all documents, all records electronically. There's only one problem with this as a rationale for shutting down one's medical practice. That's not a requirement of Obamacare. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I know you'll find this hard to believe, but an Obama critic, probably a right-wing Republican hack, just made up stuff in order to smear Obama. Communist alert. There's a communist amongst us. I'm sure Republicans are going to want to perhaps deport this person if they could figure out where to deport him. I'm talking about, of course, Colin Powell, who's now come out in favor of a single-payer health care plan. He had some fascinating comments to say about this the last few days, saying essentially, he's not a big fan of Obamacare. We should have single-payer health care plan. Every country he goes to that is not dirt poor has a single-payer health care plan. Here's a guy, a Republican his whole life, or at least independent sometimes, worked for Republicans, Nixon, Reagan, Bush on down, who says what's obvious to any thinking person, which is all of our successful competitive trading partners have single-payer health care plans. They spend less than we do and they have better quality health care. But you're not allowed to say that if you're a Republican actually thinking of running for office. Colin Powell, I think, is determined he's not ever going to run for office, and he can now speak freely and honestly. I hope he continues to speak out. So apparently a budget deal has been reached in Washington. There's not going to be another government shutdown. Conservatives are whining, crying, complaining. But I'll tell you, their party does not want to go through another public beating in the polls the way they did with the last government shutdown. It was a loser politically. It was a loser from a policy standpoint. And I guess it's some aspect of good news to see the Republicans. It's not that they're not willing to destroy the country to help themselves, but they're not willing to destroy the country and hurt themselves at the same time any longer. So I guess that's going to have to pass for progress for now. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me. If you have any comments, please post. If you have any suggestions for topics, please post here.